and our weekly video segment to take you into the back shelves of your local video store, back where it says horror videos, and where kids are devouring some awful films that we call the video nasties.
Are you freebasing? Inquiring minds want to know.
I have to break free from this culture of mechanical reproductions and the thick incrustations dying on the surface.
Fuck the prime time, bitch!
Monmouth in the flesh.
The pain, I can assure you, will be exquisite. As for our deaths, come with me and be immortal.
We have such sights to show you.
Gotta return some videotapes.
Ho, 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 hello, horror hounds, and welcome to the SLEIGH podcast. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
And I'm your torn-up letter to Santa, Mike.
I'm Santa Colton.
And it's Jill.
And
Just Jill.
Just
Ho,
Jill.
ho, ho.
Oh, Jill, don't be so hard on yourself.
I think I made that joke last year, so.
Colton always bringing the misogyny as a gift for the holidays.
I think it's a new record. We almost made it a minute without it.
And we are back on this festive episode of SLEIGH. As always, we're not recording, well, I shouldn't say anywhere near the holidays, but we're like a week out. I mean, we're almost there. The trees are probably up somewhere, and I know mine's up, and all that good stuff, getting our activities done. So what better way than to start off with what we've been consuming in between the time of these hectic holidays? What have you been watching? What have you been reading? What have you been listening to? What have you been doing in general? Are you just crying because of the holidays? Or you just, I don't know, jerking it? Whatever. Yeah, that got X-rated really quick. Mike, we're going to start with you.
Oh, shit.
The jump scare.
I'm so prepared. Okay, hang on. Where do I start? Well, first of all, the movie that I want to talk about that I watched last night, I'm not supposed to, so I'll have to wait. But anyway, I watched a really good movie last night. I watched two really good movies last night. One of the ones I watched was the 4K of one of not only the best horror movies of all the time, the best Christmas movie of all time.
Lake Placid.
Lake Placid. Oh, no, Santa Jaws, obviously. Santa Jaws visits Lake Placid Part 3, obviously. No, it's Black Christmas, the original.
Fuck yeah.
Of course.
Nice.
It looked so beautiful in glorious 4K. Like, I was just drooling the whole time. And obviously it's one you gotta watch every year. That and the 2006 version, which, is really good in its own way, even though technically it's not a very good movie.
The cast is great in that one.
The cast is like out of this world. And I honestly, every Christmas, I'm like, can I just suggest it again? Because I really want us to talk about it again. I just want an excuse to rewatch it.
I need to watch that one, so maybe
I feel like we could do it sometime. When we did the episode where we did the original and the 2006 one, I'm pretty sure we reviewed the 2006 one for like 15 minutes. We talked about the first one at a time, and then we were like, oh yeah, we're still getting the hang of trying to do double features. So I think that was one of the first double features we ever did.
Yeah, we were getting our sea legs.
Yeah, it's been like years since we've done one now on the main show as well, I'm pretty sure, so.
It's fine.
I don't want to say anything because I feel like, I don't know,
Man.
we'll give Colton ideas. He'll be doing some evil double feature or something.
Okay, so I also watched, this has been a week, actually, now that I look at it, or, well, really like a month, because this is, halfway through the month now, where I'm looking at my list here now, and since we did Inside, I've actually rewatched a bunch of my favorite movies ever. A couple days ago, Rowan knows because I texted him a picture of my TV while I was watching it. I watched the single best movie that shits on every other movie that came out in 2016. The only best picture of all time, Moonlight.
Oh, yes.
Obviously.
Great movie.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody posted like the day before, they were like, oh my God, it's on this day in 2016, La La Land came out. And I was like, well, time to watch Moonlight.
Yeah, I mean, La La Land was robbed, but
La La Land should have been thrown in the sewer. That's why it was robbed. It should have been robbed and mugged and had its ID taken and
Wow.
dropped off dead in a ditch somewhere. But anyway, yeah, so I rewatched Moonlight. Moonlight is just such a fucking comfort movie to me, and I always just like weep.
I haven't watched it in a long time because I also just weep every time I watch it.
It's hard. I want to watch it, yeah, like once a month.
We saw it in the theater with Jill, did we not? You were with us when we saw
not
it.
Not the theater. You actually had me over at your apartment back when you lived in St. John's.
Was it?
Yeah,
I thought that was Closet
your...
Monster we watched in St. John's.
Actually, maybe you're fucking right.
I think it was Closet Monster. I think you came with us to the theater to go see it.
Well, I saw it at the world premiere with the whole cast and crew in attendance and Barry Jenkins in an extended Q&A.
Did you also see La La Land in extended Q&A?
I sure did, yep. The same year. Yeah, both of them were at TIFF.
So bad for you. But anyway,
he probably just yelled La La Land's better in the middle of the presentation.
I actually don't know if I had seen La La Land by that point, but I did see La La Land twice that year at TIFF. I, scrounged up an extra set of tickets. So
someday I'll watch
quote
it.
The very wise, your girlfriend 22. That's mental illness, love. But anyway, so yes, I rewatched Moonlight. SLEIGH, like just truly one of the greatest movies ever filmed and put out for the public to watch. It's just so good. And then I also watched another kind of old classic, Brian De Palma's Sister, starring the excellent Margot Kidder, who was also in Black Christmas. So I kind of had this weird like week where I watched 2 Margot Kidder movies and just made me realize like how fucking good she was. And then I was like, oh my god, I kind of want to watch Amityville Horror now too, just to get like the like Margot Kidder horror holy trinity of the 70s. Yeah, so that's like such a great movie. Love Margot Kidder, love Brian De Palma, love twisted, weird head trip movies about conjoined twins and etc. and murder. I also finally watched Smile because part 2 was out, and I realized I had never actually seen that movie.
Yeah.
And it was on like Crave or something.
Yeah,
I liked it. Yeah, it wasn't my favorite thing ever, but like it was a good solid, like, I didn't look at like the time or like my phone or anything except to like look up, like, oh, who's that person or whatever. Yeah, I thought it was a fun movie. I can't wait to see part 2.
Same. We'll have to watch it for next episode so me and you both can review it.
Yeah, we can have a little like a little chat about it. So yeah, that was a fun movie. Not my favorite, but like I'm looking forward to part 2.
It's like a very serviceable kind of like mainstream popcorn movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I think it's I can see why it like was really popular, and yeah, that's exactly it. It's a really good popcorn movie. Like I would not have regretted it if I went to see it in theaters and spent like $20 on it. It would have been a good time. I finally got the 4K of another of my favorite neon lit, beautiful, nonsensical horror flicks. And I know it's one of Rowan's favorites too. And it actually always reminds me of him. And that is Lamberto Bava's Demons.
Yeah.
It looks insanely good on the new restoration. Like I almost dropped a load in my pants.
I want that very bad. I'd like 1 and 2 on 4K, but first time I ever saw Demons was with you. You made me watch it. I remember you bringing it over.
Yeah, I had that limited edition steelbook that they put out.
Yeah. Another one that's been on my list for the podcast forever that I just haven't got to yet.
Oh, we will. One of us will pick it. It's fine. We might even be able to do a double feature of 1 and 2 because they're both like just super short, like popcorn.
It's just hard to pick stuff like that when you have like a lot of other good stuff like Leprechaun in the Hood to do and things like that.
I know. I'm sorry. How dare I suggest, Demons. And so the last like notable one that I watched or rewatched for the 8 millionth time, and this was before they announced the like remakes, main cast, was obviously the classic American Psycho, Mary Harron. Like literally 10 out of 10, like such a good movie. I don't know. I love Luca, but I can't imagine the remake being very good, or I guess readaptation, whatever you want to call it. And also, I feel like a woman needs to direct it, or it is actually going to be super misogynistic. That's just my take on it. Also, I just feel like we shouldn't be giving Bret Easton Ellis money because he's like a Trumpy. But anyway, download PDFs of American Psycho. That's all I have to say.
What do you think about? I think it's Jacob Elordi right now is his main choice.
Oh, they announced the other day it was Austin Butler. That was like 2 days ago.
Oh fuck, I got it mixed up. It's Austin Butler.
Yeah.
You're right.
One of those kind of like it guys of the moment. Yeah, it's fine.
He's got to bring the Elvis accent back, though.
I'm just like, this person is too method. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it'll be fantastic. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been consuming. I was just really glad to watch that movie because the book is like, the novel's kind of like an inferno in New York. And like the book is very much like kind of takes it and makes it like very interior. And I just like feel claustrophobic when I watch it because it feels like New York is like bearing down on you, and it's just like a series of rooms and just, oh my god, like Mary Herron, chef's kiss, hats off, I love you. Jill, what have you been putting in your eyeballs and your ear balls and your nose balls? And
whoa,
let's end it there. I don't.
Yeah.
Period. Goodbye.
First thing I watched and was very excited for and anticipating was the Sabrina Carpenter Christmas special on Netflix. I think it's A Nonsense Christmas. I watched it a couple times since it came out, and it's just I don't know. I love Sabrina Carpenter. She's funny. She's like clever. She makes a lot of innuendos that I like, and it was just a nice, fun time.
That's that me espresso.
Exactly. And it was funny, and I love the costumes and the set, and it was just magnificent. They brought on Shania Twain.
Ooh.
Yeah, for
Icon.
Santa Baby. Yeah. She looks great. She looks fantastic. So yeah, that was a total banger, so go watch that if you're open to that, I guess.
A lot of people in the IG comments of Netflix very angry at it. A lot of old people.
Because it's too sexual? Or... Yeah, she's kind of like going through that with like the tour she just did. A lot of angry parents, like a lot of people brought their kids who I guess they never listened to the music because...
What happened to the days women were modest and...
Well, you know... Misogyny again. Anyway.
Listen, you're being possessed by the spirit of Colton right now.
The ghost of Colton, future, past, present.
Current, yeah.
Yeah. You know, keeping up with the Christmas spirit, I watched Gremlins, rewatched that for the first time in a very long time. I hadn't seen it since I was a kid.
It bangs.
I didn't really, it does bang, and I didn't really remember much of it except for the kitchen scene. That's what I always thought of when I thought of Gremlins. And just rewatching it as an adult, it was just a fun time. It's just funny. It's ridiculous, but it also has heart and a lot of nice Christmas cheer and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I love Gremlins.
I like the opposite reaction I had when I rewatched it last year for the first time in like years, where I was like, it's crazy how much I love Gremlins. The oldest ornament I own in my possession is like this old Gizmo ornament from when the original movie came out that like my parents gave me. But, like, when I rewatched it, I was like, holy shit, this is, like, a pretty dark movie. Like,
oh, yeah.
Literally, like, super violent. People just, like, be murdered. But it does have, what's his name, Mike? You know, the guy who plays the plow driver. He's, like, icon. I can't think of his name. He passed recently, though. He was, he's in, like, a bunch of horror movies. He was in Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight and, like a bunch of stuff, but
hang on, let me see. I haven't seen that since I was like
great cast. That's
5 years old.
You should really rewatch it. It's so funny.
Did you guys not do that already for like a Christmas
never.
Oh. Very good. I assume that was done like in year 1 or 2.
Also has childhood female love of mine. What's your name? Phoebe. What's your last name?
Phoebe Cates?
Yeah.
How dare you?
I know, from Drop Dead Fred, my all-time favorite movie.
And Fast Times, and.
I loved her in this movie. Not so much in the second one. because they just like, I don't know. She wasn't as good in the second one, but I love that her character always like trauma dumps.
Yeah.
That's what made like that first one so dark, right? When she's talking about like why she doesn't like Christmas because they found her dad dead in the chimney. And she does the same thing in Gremlins 2. And I watched Gremlins 2 for the first time. I didn't even know there was a second one, honestly. And that one is just crazy. Like
Hulk Hogan.
It has the Hulkster in it. And Christopher Lee.
Yes.
Yeah, that one is just crazy. It's on the level of like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Because there's just like so much stuff going on, and it's just crazy. Like I was exhausted because I watched 2 of these in one sitting.
I remember reading a lot of reviews for Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was like the new Gremlins 2.
Yeah, I was offended by that comparison, but I bit my tongue.
Was that actually a comparison?
No,
not like
Shut
that.
the fuck up! Oh my god!
Nobody else has said that besides you.
I literally hate you guys.
You just had the most original thought ever on the internet.
You know what? At least I have original thoughts. And they offend Colton every time.
Wow.
He's clutching his pearls.
Just catching strays.
Okay, listen, I just think that it was just a lot going on. It never let up. And I remember watching Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I had this like anxious feeling the whole time, and that's how I felt watching Gremlins 2. So
fair enough. To
back it up, that's why. But yeah, I watched both of those for Straight Jacket Talk for our Christmas episode. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. And I think the last thing that I watched that I'll talk about is I saw that what's the name of it? It Ends With Us. I know. I had to check it out because it came on Netflix, and I was like, I got to see it. I got to see what's going on.
It's wild.
It was really long. I fell asleep in the middle of it, and then when I woke up, I had to start it back in the middle and watch the rest of it, and it was just like so taxing. Yeah, as someone who has read one of Colleen Hoover's books, and it was like, okay, this like kind of tracks with her style of writing, but it's not my favorite. I think it had potential, but honestly, I didn't really enjoy Blake Lively as the main character. I just don't think she really sold it.
Apparently neither did the crew and cast either, so I guess you're
really
in solidarity with them. I mean, that was the movie, right? That Blake Lively, like, the internet turned on Blake Lively because everyone said she was like a terror to work with.
No, it was the opposite. They all turned on the director.
It was the director, yeah.
Yeah, everyone unanimously and went against the director.
But then they went against her, didn't they? I remember reading a bunch of articles.
They went against her for a different reason.
End, yeah. To a certain degree, but like I think they were actually saying like the director was toxic and disrespectful and whatnot. Lingered too long for kissing scenes and this sort of thing, I remember.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I mean, Blake Lively paid to have the movie re-edited in her style and then presented that edit and went above like the director and like the editor's head. So I mean, that's also pretty bad look in my opinion.
I think she was like canceled because of interviews for press, because it's like it's about domestic abuse and she only wants to talk about her outfits. And
she was telling everyone to like wear their skirts and wear their florals, and they were pitching the movie as like a fun summer rom-com movie. Like, I don't know, she clearly had a pretty big like stranglehold on how that movie was marketed and whatnot as well, because they did very much market it as a rom-com. At some point it clearly got out of the director's hands, who was trying to market it as more so like a domestic abuse drama, from what I understand. But
it kind of reminds me of, I think it was like a Nicholas Sparks movie that came out like 10 years ago. I forgot, but it's like that, in that sort of vein. It's not really my cup of tea. I know some people like really love that stuff. I don't know if they enjoyed this movie. I just thought it was okay. Like, not the delivery I'm kind of into. Mm-hmm. You've seen it, right, Colton?
I actually haven't. No. I followed all the drama around it, and a few podcasts I follow at the time were doing like deep dives on it.
Gotcha.
And maybe like when I was watching it, it was like public sentiment was kind of in her corner. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it did shift. But in the beginning, it was very much like people were digging deeply into the director about like how problematic he was and all this stuff. And he cast himself as the lead in the movie and whatnot as well, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's him?
Yeah. So.
Ew.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Just wasn't my cup of tea. But Colton, what have you been up to?
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching a little bit of stuff. Nothing really consequential, I would say. I'm kind of trying to watch the last few things I haven't seen from this year. You know, it's the time of year where I'm trying to get my best of list done. And, you know, I'm lucky enough to have seen a lot of it just, you know, by way of going to the film festival earlier in September, but there's still a few things I haven't seen. So I'm going to do a Rowan. I'm just going to read down basically what I've been watching, give quick thoughts on it. Yeah. Usually I go like 2 or 3 things, right? Like a paragraph, some detailed thoughts. No, not this time. The first thing I watched was Clint Eastwood's Juror Number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that, Rowan?
I have.
Okay, all right. I'll give my thoughts and I'll toss it over to you for a second. But I figured you'd be the only other person that may have seen this. It's marketed as Clint Eastwood's last movie. I don't know if it actually will be, but the guy is like 90-odd years old, and from what I understand, working for him now is like you work like a 6 or an 8-hour day and still get paid for like 12 or 14 hours, just because the guy's like, I want to show up at like 8 o'clock and I want to be done by lunch. Like, so it's probably pretty sick to work on these movies. But anyways, this one stars Nicholas Hoult and Krampus alumni Toni Collette. You know, she's in this as well. And essentially, it's about a juror that, while he is in court, comes to realize maybe he is the one that's guilty of the crime. And it's kind of like this psychological courtroom drama about guilt and about, you know, when you should do the right thing or not. And Toni Collette's kind of like she's a lawyer and like working for the DA's office. And of course, she's like wolfish, like hunting down the truth, like absolutely, you know, brutal in the movie. But yeah, the movie actually was pretty good. As long as you can get past kind of like the core conceit of like a dude being summoned for jury duty for a crime that he may have committed and didn't know. As long as you can get past the pitch, which, you know, they reveal that within the first 15 minutes as the whole hook of the movie. I thought it was good. I thought it didn't really let up. It's you know, a lot of good performances in the courtroom or in the jury itself. Like it has J.K. Simmons in there and, you know, as I mentioned, Toni Collette. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid Clint Eastwood movie. Definitely one of the better ones I've seen in his late stage career. That's for sure. What do you think of this one, Rowan?
I mean, I came into it being a guy that I don't think I've ever seen a Clint Eastwood movie, like not a movie with Clint Eastwood in it or anything he's directed. But I also really enjoyed this. It's funny because we were talking about before we started recording. I was like, oh man, I wish I had seen Carry On before we recorded. Everyone's talking about it. Is this like 90s throwback thriller? And like that's essentially what this is. It's like
100%. Yeah, this feels like straight out of the 90s.
90s courtroom drama, which like is definitely my jam. Shout out to A Few Good Men fan club.
I was going to say, you can't handle the truth, Ro.
Yeah, another all-time favorite of mine. Like, this is good. Like, I thought this was really, really good.
It's not A Few Good Men good, but it is a good courtroom drama. And I mean, it's kind of like we get a few of those every year, and most of them are bad.
Yeah, this is just like, it's very well shot. It's very well done. Like, you know, there's lots of twists and turns, just like you want in these, and I really don't have much to say other than it's really good, way better than I thought.
Strong ending as well. I was surprised that they kind of went where they went, and it's a very strong ending. I enjoyed it. It was much better than I expected.
Shout out to being white in America,
which I saw was definitely a sentiment that, might not work if you're, you know, if the movie was from the perspective of a black actor. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know? Anyways, moving on to a less successful movie, I'd say, was Moana 2, which absolutely breaks my heart to say. The sentiment online is essentially like, I've seen people basically do like, I've been to 100 movies this year, and Moana 2 is easily the worst one. And I don't subscribe to that. I've seen worse movies in the last month, for sure, than Moana 2, but I absolutely loved the first Moana. Like, I think literally the first Moana is probably, like, the most successful 3D animated movie by Disney themselves. Like, I absolutely love that movie. Like, obviously, Pixar's done a bunch under Disney as well, but then they kind of branched off and both started doing 3D animated movies. Anyways, Moana 2 is not very good. It's a complete, like, retread of the first Moana, but you don't have Lin-Manuel Miranda, who obviously is a little bit overexposed and kind of does this quick rapping thing in a bunch of different movies now, and, you know, you either love him or hate him. But they kind of try and, like, ape his style in this. And I thought, since he has such a distinct style, you'd be able to steal that and kind of someone be able to do a good replication of it. And I guess they just can't. It's very cringy, some of these songs, and at best they're like a pale imitation of the first Moana songs. And yeah, when I was watching it, I was just like, this does not have like the heart and soul of the first one. Apparently it was originally being developed for a Disney Plus series, and that is kind of the vibe that you get. It's like, oh, there's all these random island dwellers that are kind of going on this adventure with her this time, but none of them have like a distinct personality enough to kind of like rise above just being kind of like a background player. It's kind of like an excuse where it's like, we can't have The Rock in the whole movie, so let's like have some other people to flesh out the first 40 minutes before we rescue him, sort of thing. Yeah, it's a retread. She has to go across the ocean, find a place to fight a a natural disaster and come back home, essentially. I don't know. I was completely let down. I thought it was okay. But, if you love the original Moana, it's probably best to not even watch this. And this actually has like an after credits sequence where they're pitching a Moana 3 and like bringing the villains together sort of shit. And I'm like, bro, nobody wants that. Nobody's asking for that.
They're doing a live action one too, aren't they?
They are. And the leaked set photos look horrendous.
Alrighty.
Yeah, there's like The Rock with like a foam suit on top of his already jacked body to make him look like Maui. And then like the skin tones don't match at all, which obviously they'll use, hundreds of thousands of dollars in CGI and stuff to fix all that. But it's still like, it looks like shit. And I'm just like, guys, the movie's like 8 years old, the original Moana. It completely holds up. It's excellent. Like, why would you watch this live action one?
We don't want this.
No, nobody wants this. So yeah, not that great. Not the worst thing I've seen, but I was very disappointed in it. The next thing I checked out was Dee Dee, which is a movie like much earlier in the year, kind of got some hype around Sundance. Rowan's nodding. He's probably
I haven't seen it. It's on my list of stuff to watch.
Yeah, it's a coming-of-age movie of a young Asian American, kind of like the immigrant experience, but being like actually born in America, but also like not wanting to actually be called Asian by kind of like your peers and whatnot. You want to be just fit in with everybody. And the time period it takes place is in the early 2000s, so it's very nostalgic for me, to see like a young kid, like over the course of a summer, like messaging his crush on AIM. I used MSN, but still, like, I get the vibe. Or like, logging into the family computer on Windows XP, or going to the video store, that sort of thing. Like, there's just kind of like this felt experience throughout it. It just covers his one summer. And my criticism of the movie would be like, no kid's summer is this eventful. It's like, okay, hitting on my crush, falling in love with my crush, that falling apart, falling in with like a skater crew that I'm starting to record for them. Oh, they're doing drugs, they're bad people. Oh, relating to my sister who's going away to college. Oh, my mom's a single mother and I'm starting to respect her a little bit by the end. Oh, my nan has to move in with us and she's sick. It's just like the most jam-packed ever summer. He probably, realistically, the filmmaker took 2 or 3 years of his life and kind of, culminated into one. But yeah, I thought it was really good. It was nostalgic. It was like heartwarming. As someone who largely grew up more or less with a single mother, my dad was still in the same town, but like I still, very much a mom house boy in that way. I thought it was really nice. And yeah, it was just a good one of these. We've all seen these coming of age movies, but seeing one set in like the early 2000s that kind of felt a little bit more like my own experience growing up in some aspects, I thought was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It was definitely one of the better things I've seen this year. Next up, I saw Lee, which was actually a movie released last year, but I think for whatever reason, the way it's being distributed, it's actually like in the Oscar conversation for this year, mostly for Kate Winslet's performance as Lee Miller, who, if you don't know her, she's like a famous World War II photographer, known most for being the one that captured the photos of the concentration camps, like the aftermath of all the horrific photos we've seen of like the bodies all piled up and whatnot. More often than not, they're probably shot by Lee Miller, this, one wartime photographer. With this one, what I'll say is that I think the subject matter and kind of like the revelation of how, just reading like the Wikipedia page, you'll probably get just as much out of it as watching the movie. It's very kind of like disconnected and disjointed and kind of just passing through aspects of her life. In some regards, I think it's kind of a little bit disingenuous just because she was a very private person. Like even her son didn't know that she was a wartime photographer in World War II until she already was dead, like 30 years later. So there was aspects of the movie where she almost felt like a superhero, like, rescuing a woman from being raped in a burned out Paris building or something, where it's like, okay, maybe she did do that, but like when you're watching the movie, it just feels like kind of like weird, like it's extra like heroism when she's already so heroic. Or there was like things like she pulls a Mulan at one point and dresses like a man to sneak into like the press pit and shit. It's like, it's movie stuff that I don't really believe would have happened in real life. And maybe it did, but you know, from what I understand, there's no documentation of this sort of thing. And also it's one of those biopics where you have to go on Wikipedia and read what happened to them in the end, which I also don't like. It's like when you watch one of these, even if it's mostly about, you know, her wartime photography, it's kind of like, I would like to know, even if it's just like text on the end of the screen or at the end of the movie, just to tell me what happened to them. It always, like, it sucks when you watch like a 2.5 hour movie and you don't even know, like, okay, she died, but like from what? From when? What was like her personal struggles in the last couple of years? And this movie doesn't really give you that. So, you know, it was all right. I thought Kate Winslet was fine. I don't really get the Oscar hype for her. She was all right. I just think like actually probably looking at Lee Miller's real photographs is probably just as impactful as the movie itself, which the movie also doesn't really show until the credits. So it's like, you know, they don't do like a Civil War, like when they take the picture, you see a quick snap of it or anything. Like it's, you know, it's, I don't know. I saw kind of this aspect or this phenomenon kind of captured a little bit better in Civil War, I would say, earlier this year, even though obviously this is a real person. So it's a little bit more impactful that way.
Marvel Civil War is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, like, you know,
The
Captain
only one.
America, Iron Man, you know.
I think
The
Peter
press.
Parker did take some pictures.
Yeah,
in
probably,
that.
yeah. It's been a while since I've seen that one. It's pretty mid, but no, the A24 Civil War, of course, I'm the A24 fanboy. And then the last thing I've seen, the misogynist Colton Simpson checked out the last movie in the Important Women trilogy by Pablo Larraín. So this is Jackie, this is Spencer, and now he's just did one on Maria Callas, who's like a famous opera singer.
Duh. Oh.
I didn't know who she was. She like I
Oh my
obviously
God.
I know. Obviously I knew who Princess Diana was. You know, I knew who Jackie O or Jackie Kennedy was. I had
She's
no idea.
literally
who
more
Maria
important
Callas
than
was.
both of them put together. But anyway.
Well, that's certainly what the movie's kind of pitching. You
Yeah.
follow kind of like the last 7 days of her life. And how much of like a diva essentially she was, and how she's kind of trying to mount maybe this return to opera, but also just trying to prove to herself that she still has some worth and can still sing, and kind of like, even though if she's drug addled or, you know, if she's aged, she still has like some, you know, relevance in this society, and she wants to kind of like, you know, prove it to herself. I thought kind of the performance from Angelina Jolie was like pretty incredible. Apparently she did 7 months of opera training just to even be able to like lip sync it properly. Like, you know, there are, I think, small little snippets in the movie of her actually sing, but I mean, any of the actual powerful performances is like the real woman, you know, when she has to lip sync to it. The sets were absolutely beautiful. Cinematography was beautiful. Costuming, just basically all the technicals were great. It was just kind of, this one was a little bit different once again than Spencer or Jackie, where this one kind of felt like we were seeing like almost like hallucinogenic moments of the last week of her life. Like obviously she's taking so many pills that like people that she's speaking to may not be there. She may be giving to her life story to somebody who, you know, captured it years ago and presented it in a poor light. You know, stuff like this where it's like, we're not really sure 100% of what she did in the last 7 days of her life, other than the, you know, the ultimate ending. So there was aspects of it I thought like worked a lot better, just like technically, than an actual narrative. But yeah, Angelina Jolie was great. And it is interesting to see like this trilogy now that I think just started out as him wanting to do a movie on Jackie, like, you know, leading up to JFK's funeral. And then Spencer was almost like a ghost story, almost like we could actually do it on this show, because it is like straight up like a ghost story about her like ultimately wanting to leave her husband. And then this one is more so like she's dying, so it's a little bit of a different vibe. It's kind of like not going to like, oh, maybe let's say when she made a really bad performance that stopped her to, you know, back up from opera. There's a lot more like a finale, or like, you know, it's like we obviously know the ultimate end of what happens to this character, that I thought had a little bit of a different vibe, but it's still good. It's still worth watching. You know, Pablo Larraín, once again, is just, his technicals are crazy. It was a very good looking movie, and I think that one's available on Netflix now if someone wants to check it out for some reason when they're listening to a horror podcast.
I saw it being advertised today, and it looks really good.
Yeah. I think Angelina Jolie will probably be in the conversation. She's really good, and it's the sort of thing when you're watching it as well, you just get this feeling of like movie star, which it's silly to say because obviously everything we watch has movie stars in it. We're watching fucking movies, but there's this feeling when you're watching it that you're like, oh, this person, you know, she just like holds the screen and holds the camera so well that it's like, it feels different. There's like a different feeling to it. And she was just really good, really powerful
being an actual, like a movie star, capital M, capital S, like we used to have, is definitely starring in a movie and being a movie star are two totally different things.
Different. Absolutely.
It's a like level of like charisma and yeah.
And she was one of those. When I was watching this, I was like, absolutely, she's excellent. And then her help in the movie as well, like she has like a butler, and then I think like more of like a maid that prepares her meals and stuff. Both of them are great in the movie too. There's kind of like a three-hander for the most part. But yeah, it was good. Not like amazing, but it was good. It's definitely worth a watch if you're interested.
You can't call them the help.
I can't? Oh, well. I'm sorry.
That's the bourgeoisie coming out.
I'm canceled, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, that's all I've been watching. Bunch of stuff, rambled for a bit. Rowan, what have you been checking out?
Well, I'm going to start with what I've been listening to so I can give the flowers while we're all here. I finally listened to every horror movie on Netflix Thanksgiving episode featuring one Mike from the It's SLEIGH podcast.
Yep.
Stellar work.
Thank you.
I listened to that while I was driving home after watching a movie in the theater. But I want to bounce off Jill. I might need a drum roll for this. Jill brought up a little movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Stop it.
So drum roll, please. I still haven't seen it.
Oh my God.
But
I'm not even going to be fooled by that anymore.
That
I hate you.
It's been a while since I brought that one out. I did rewatch, I think I've already rewatched it this year, so that's really sad. Rewatched The Breakup. Just because it was time. It was time there.
Every single time you log this, I just roll my eyes.
I love it.
5-star.
5-star Vince Vaughn. It's my favorite Vince Vaughn movie. I'm not even a big Jennifer Aniston guy. I love her in this. Like everybody. It's so good. And then another rewatch I actually did today. No, did it yesterday, I believe. Yeah, it was yesterday. I watched The Nightmare Before Christmas. So watched this with the kid, and fantastic as always. I mean, this was probably my favorite Tim Burton movie for a long, long time, ever since I was young. I remember me and Exilia moving into our first apartment, and like everything our family gifting us was Nightmare Before Christmas, like our dishes, like blankets, like everything. You know, we had expensive like clocks that were Nightmare Before Christmas.
Were you guys Hot Topic kids for that? And I never knew.
I mean, apparently just for Nightmare Before Christmas. So always, one of my favorite stop motion, / animated films. And that's all the rewatches I did. So the two I'm not going to talk about because me and Colton will be talking about them in a Now SLEIGH wrap-up episode coming. I did get to see In a Violent Nature finally, and I also watched Y2K. So yeah, you'll hear our opinions on upcoming episode that'll be out before the new year.
One of those I thought was absolutely dreadful, and you'll have to go listen to the episode to see which one it was.
But like Colton, the end of the year, I'm also trying to watch everything I've missed. Specifically, I know yet again this year, I'll probably try to attempt again to watch all the nominated Oscar stuff. So I'm like trying to be like, okay, what's going to get nominated or whatever. So let me just see whatever I can that I think's in that realm. So obviously to start that off, turned on Netflix, had to put on Hot Frosty, which
of course
might be a Best Picture nom coming up.
It's a contender.
But yeah, so Hot Frosty, Lacey Chambers, Craig Robinson.
First of all,
what?
It's Lacey Chabert.
I mean, the girl from Mean Girls. I mean,
God.
Couldn't let that one slide.
I'm sorry, I'm not a Hallmark expert here.
I have to say something. I can't remember if it was when we were recording or maybe in the group chat and somebody brought up, like, it probably was you, obviously, because you were like, oh my God, she's in all these Christmas, like, Hallmark movies.
That was me.
Yeah, and we're all like, yeah, of course. But I actually realized today that she's also in this series of crossword-themed murder mysteries.
Which are also Hallmark. I looked it up. I was like, what is all
is it
this
okay?
stuff?
Yeah. So she's getting that fucking Hallmark bag, and I love it. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. Lacey Chambers is in crossword murder mysteries.
So, yeah, I watched this because obviously, you know, this is like in the top 10 Netflix watch. It's their new Christmas movie, and it's as wild as you could ever imagine. I always know the movie's going to be wild when I go to look it up on Letterboxd. I look at the reviews, and the top review is by the guy that wrote the movie that's like, hi, I wrote the movie. And it was
that's good stuff. I love that.
And then it was like thanking everybody for all the positive like words and everything. And I'm like, oh dear Lord, like this has like a 2 out of 5 average or whatever.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, did I give it a 2-star? Yeah. Like, but it wasn't like offensively. It was bad. Okay. But it wasn't like I knew what I was going into. It's like a Netflix Hallmark movie, but it's always when it's Netflix, you know, they try to like make it a little edgy. Like there's a lot of like sex jokes in this and stuff, you know, about having sex with snowmen, and, you know, this guy's shirtless that plays the snowman. So he's basically shirtless the entire movie, like hitting on old ladies, and old ladies are, you know, getting hot and bothered. And
wait, isn't it Dustin Milligan from Schitt's Creek and My Beloved 90210?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was fun. There were some fun musical cues. And
Rowan, does he put his carrot nose to good work, or?
No, but there is a weird scene where he helps an older lady. She gets in an accident because she's staring at him shirtless, and she backs her car in to a snow pile. So he's helped pushing the car, and he's behind it, but he's basically just fucking the car, and he's like, oh yeah, let me push it. And he's just like gyrating, and the woman is like essentially just like orgasming while watching this. And then when he finally gets it out, and he's like, oh, I'm finished. And she's like, oh, so am I. And I'm just like, this is wild. Like, this is super wild.
I wouldn't have expected there to be car fucking in Hot Frosty. I thought that was just reserved for TLC. But
yeah, this is, you know, it is what it is. It's always fun to see Craig Robinson, you know, just doing his thing. Scott, I don't know his name, but like one of the guys from Brooklyn Nine-Nine is in it too. Andy Samberg's like partner in that show. He's in it as the other cop. Like, you know,
isn't he in like all the Hallmark movies too?
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Like I said, it's harmless fun. So, you know, good times, I guess. So actually watching things that I'm like, oh, maybe. I got to check out Michaela's Voice, A Letter to the World. This is a Netflix short that just came out, like literally just this week with no advertising. I really liked it. It was really interesting. It's about a young girl. She's 14. She has autism. It's like a documentary short. And it's the first time she's ever like basically had a voice. So she's learned to use like a letterboard to like talk. And she picked who she wanted to voice her in this narrated documentary, and she narrates this like half-hour short just about finally being able to learn to communicate with her family. And like she's very artistic, like super like genius intelligence, and just like now being able to like put a voice to her and express these things. I didn't get her. I can't remember if they said her father's name, but he's obviously someone with money. He's like a record producer, and I just know he had like plaques in the background of like 50 Cent albums, and like he's like a hip hop R&B producer. But it was just like, it was very touching. It was very, you know, I teared up a little bit. It was just really interesting to you know, this girl to have a voice.
You're getting so sentimental in your fatherhood days.
I'm here just wanted to ask a dumb question. Do they ever get into details why she decided to choose Gilbert Gottfried as her voice?
Oh, no.
Wait.
He's joking. He's joking.
Okay. I'd believe it too, honestly.
It was very good. It was very touching. Like I said, it's the kind of stuff that I'm like, oh, obviously Netflix will probably try to push this as a short or something that'll tug at everyone's heartstrings. And then one that I know me and Colton texted about, and I'm just like, I finally got to see Sing Sing.
Nice.
Yeah, this had been on my list for a while, so finally it popped up so I could watch it. Obviously, I've said many times, Coleman Domingo, I just love everything he's in. He's kind of like, to me, he's the new Tony Todd, where I could just listen to anything he says, and I'm just captivated. He has a great voice, and this is just fantastic. I said in my letterbox review, just back up the truck, give them all the awards.
Yeah, incredible performance by him, but also the whole cast of inmates in it, right?
It's crazy. Yeah. The cast is actual inmates, most that were actually in this program that the movie's about. And if you don't know what it's about a drama program in a prison facility, a full security prison, and just these inmates using this as an outlet. And it's interesting because, I don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying this on a right winger Joe Rogan podcast way, but I'm saying it's you don't see a lot of movies that are about just kind of outlets for men, but these men in prison that feel they have to put on these masculine, in prison and the stuff they're dealing with, these thuggish outsides where these guys want to dress up and act like emperors and mummies, and they just want this outlet to get out their frustrations, but also just this building this community where these men are talking about their emotions and their anxieties and how they feel and that kind of thing. And it's just I was also kind of a wreck throughout all this. I was just tearing up. It's so good. And Colton almost undersells it. Coleman's probably he's probably the fourth best person in this. The actual inmates are so good in it.
Yeah. The guy who winds up getting the lead role is incredible in the movie. Who's obviously he doesn't have the normal actor look at all.
No, and this is
he's really good.
This is his first role, and I was reading more about it. He was the one that built this story with the director and stuff. He co-wrote this. He was actually in the actual program this movie is about. Just fantastic stuff. So yeah, if you get a chance to see it, I mean, sadly, I know here it only played in one theater, and it was only here for a very short amount of time.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it never even made it here to Newfoundland at all. So that was one I checked out in one theater before TIFF happened earlier this year, and it was great.
Yeah, it was very fantastic. And then the last thing I'll talk about, the last thing I watched Jamie Foxx, What Had Happened Was, which is Jamie Foxx's new, they're billing it as a stand-up on Netflix. Obviously, the big marketing about this was that he was going to talk about did he poison him or not. He was going to reveal it in this, and to no one's surprise, I hope I spoil this, Diddy didn't poison him. He had a stroke. He had a brain aneurysm and a stroke. And, a weird marketing, obviously taking advantage of the Diddy news.
That's a one way to market your movie.
This is just weird. It just really, really rubbed me the wrong way. They shot this over 3 different performances, but it's just weird. It's not really a stand-up. There's a little bit of stand-up in it, but it's mostly him telling the story of, having the stroke, rehabilitating, how that was. But it's there's weird dramatic pauses. He's crying, but you're you can tell he's not really crying. He's, just doing it for the dramatics. He's just acting crying.
Yeah.
And it's just, so unsincere, even though the entire premise of this is, him being vulnerable and sincere, and him talking about, I was too busy being a celebrity, and I was obsessed with fame and all this stuff. So I'm just going to do this hour-long thing about how awesome I am and, like, don't forget all these awesome things I do. Literally, at the end of this, he shows iconic roles he was in to remind you how good he is and that he's Jamie Foxx. He's also trying to convert people to Christianity because he's now like a born-again Christian or something.
What's that about Christianity again, Rowan?
I'm just saying that, like,
it's
very preachy. Even though, like, he's talking about, I'm now, I'm in tune with God now, but then, he's telling, like, jokes about sucking his dick right after. It's, like, it's just weird. And then, I said it in the Letterboxd review, but I will say it was kind of weird, because I'm like, there's probably a good chance stuff's going to come out about him. Him and Diddy were, like, best friends for 20 years, and he made sure in the special to do the whole, I left all the parties early. I don't know what was going on. I've never been to a late party late after 9 o'clock. And I'm just like, well, it's kind of funny because before you had the stroke, everyone was pointing at you as like the guy that probably was also going to get in trouble. So I'm interested to see how it plays out because I kind of felt like this was I'm trying to win the hearts and minds of people before anything bad comes out.
It sounds just like a narcissistic puff piece.
Yeah, it 100%
he's trying to
was.
Manipulate people's emotions and,
Yeah, all I could really think about was Chappelle's last stand-up he did on Netflix, which obviously was, like, very controversial because obviously, Chappelle's been on his I hate trans thing.
Yeah.
But to me, the difference is Chappelle is just so naturally gifted as a stand-up comedian and storyteller that Chappelle is still always very funny, even when he's just telling a story, where Jamie Foxx isn't that strong of a comedian in terms of stand-up. So it's like the stories where he tried to mix it with story and stand-up, I just don't think worked the way he thought it would work. So yeah, that's all I watched. With that, let's get into the episode, right? It's Christmas time. Why we chose this. I mean, we chose it because it was Christmas. We were trying to figure it out, right, guys?
And it was unanimous, right, Mike?
Yep, 100%. 4 out of 4.
You fucking say it was unanimous. So we chose 2015's Krampus, which surprisingly we've never picked, which is, I think it's kind of weird because I think overall we're all trick or treat people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'd think the long-awaited second film from Mike Doherty, right?
Yeah, Michael Doherty.
Yes, so that's why we chose it. It's Christmas time. Obviously, we already did our real Christmas pick of Inside to get the real Christmas feels. So with that, let's just get into the trailer so we can get into the synopsis, first experiences, and talk about this sucker.
Merry Christmas!
I hate Christmas! I hate all of you!
This holiday season, he knows if you've been naughty or nice.
Don't open the door. He is the shadow of St. Nicholas.
Hold on to each other.
Krampus is coming.
Nothing bad's gonna happen on Christmas.
Rated PG-13.
Krampus was directed by Michael Doherty and written by Michael Doherty, Todd Casey, and Zach Shields, and the story is as follows. When the Engel family's Christmas is crashed by their gun-toting Republican relatives, young Max's holiday spirit quickly fades. In a fit of frustration, he tears up his letter to Santa and unknowingly summons Krampus, the vengeful shadow of Santa Claus known for punishing naughty children. With this newfound threat and a fierce blizzard raging outside, the Engels must set aside their differences and fight off Krampus and his minions to save the holidays and each other before it's too late.
So first experiences, is this our first time seeing it, or do we celebrate every holiday with a little Krampus in our life? Jill, I'm going to pick you because I believe you were the one that proposed this, maybe in the group chat. I feel like Colton brought it up, but then you kind of really pushed us towards it, threatened us, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I took out a gun because I live in the USA, and I pointed it to all your guys' heads, and I was like...
You pointed it in the direction of Canada, I believe.
I did, which is about to be the 51st state of
That's what I've heard.
The USA. No, but I've always wanted to see Krampus, so I've never seen it before. I remember when it came out in theaters, and I didn't go to see it because I wasn't really watching a lot of horror movies at the time. But I don't know, it always just seemed kind of intriguing to me because I love anything that's kind of based on folklore. And I also am a huge fan of Trick or Treat, like you guys. And I just had, really high expectations because of that. And yeah, so I thought that it would be a good Christmas pick because we've never done it, surprisingly. But yeah, my first time. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, I had never seen it before. Obviously, we all love Trick or Treat, but I'm not a big fan of Christmas movies or Christmas in general, so I'm never willingly will sit down and watch a Christmas movie by myself. I pretty much have to be forced by some hand to do it, like us doing a pick on the show, or somebody that I'm watching a movie with saying this is what I want to watch. Unless it's Black Christmas, obviously that's an exception. But yeah, so I just never seen this because I love Toni Collette, but the whole cast of this movie was enticing, but I don't know. I was just what? Christmas? Fuck that. So I just never saw it.
As our listeners should definitely know, because the one year Mike had to pick something, a Christmas pick, he picked Magic, if anyone remembers that.
Okay, and for the record, we were just literally making picks, and nobody said to me, this is a Christmas pick, so I just picked a couple of movies, and then we go to record it in December, and they're like, why did you pick this for Christmas? And I'm like, I just made picks. I didn't look at the math of how it lined up. I didn't care, but you know what? I made it a Christmas movie, so magical. There.
It's a great Christmas pick.
Have you watched Krampus 8,000 times, Colin? I'm sure you have.
Not 8,000 times. I've only seen it one other time, other than when I, watched it for this. But yeah, I saw this in theaters back in 2015 when it came out. It was the sort of thing that I think at the time I wasn't familiar with Krampus. I'm not 100% sure or not. Obviously now Krampus is in, probably 24 terrible, Christmas horror movies.
All
but
on
at the
Tubi.
time, yeah, guaranteed. But yeah, it was the sort of thing where I don't think I was too familiar with Krampus, but obviously I liked this idea of this malevolence brought to the Christmas holiday, kind of this other side of Santa for the naughty kids, that sort of idea. Thought that was really fun. And then just, a lot of artists I follow throughout the years, just, it's kind of their annual tradition to do different Krampus photos, or when it's near Krampus not to, do their photo then. So yeah, I mean, I've been following Krampus ever since 2015, but I've only seen it one time before this. And what about you, Rowan?
Yeah, I feel like I've seen this more than once, but maybe only once. It might kind of answer my question, because I would have still been in Newfoundland. I'm I wonder if I saw this in the theater, but I feel like I would have saw it with Mike. So
yeah,
obviously I must have just seen it when it came out. Yeah, I mean, obviously being a big fan of Trick or Treat. And I remember Trick or Treat coming out, and it was always kind of the big thing. Is this guy going to make another movie? What's going on? And he kept being oh, I'm just finding something to do. And then the announcement of this, and I feel like this is really a surge of Krampus going on, because I remember around this time, Image Comics putting out a Krampus comic book miniseries that was fantastic, and it came out around the same time as this movie. They had nothing similar with them, but just a lot of Krampus stuff hitting us all at once. And yeah, so I feel like this might be the second or third time I've seen this. Weirdly, a movie that I don't own. I thought I did, and then I went to pull it off the shelf. So I guess I'll have to get the 4K or something. I know the 4K is out by Scream, so I'll have to buy it because I'm forced to do that.
There's a 4K of this already? Oh
yeah, it's Scream. This was one of the
Factory, yeah.
This was one of the first 4Ks Scream Factory put out. In fact, yeah, it's one of their longest ones they've had. So with that, yeah, let's open the bag of abyss that is Krampus's Santa bag and get into talking about Krampus.
Santa bag. It's a fucking sack, first of all. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry I'm ruining all these Christmas terms. So, I mean, I guess, to start with, like we said, all big fans of Trick or Treat. Interesting that he decides to do like another holiday-themed film as a second feature. Do you think it actually like lives up to Trick or Treat standards?
God, right away, Rowan, we're going to do this? Whew.
God, are we going to reveal our thoughts on Krampus instantly?
I mean, we might as well.
I guess. Let's open that sack.
I mean, well, it's not an anthology, first of all. So if you came in like straight off of Trick or Treat, you'd probably be expecting like, a series of 3 or 4 stories, maybe an overarching thing, Krampus being the main, villain that holds everything together.
It should have been an anthology.
That's what I said. Yeah.
They do try and do some framing, I guess, with like the calendar leading up, like the first one being like the snowman and then like teddy bears or something. But it definitely doesn't have the same. It's not quite as successful as Trick or Treat in that regard. My main thing with this movie is that it's been a year or 2 now since I've seen Trick or Treat, but I remember kind of like the creatures and, the practical effects and how much fun that movie is, just having like this holiday spirit of like Halloween, like throughout it. Just like it's so Halloween-y and so fun. This movie, I think it might just be like a budgetary thing, or maybe it's like it was a few years later, so there was an over-reliance on CGI and VFX. It was just, I thought this lost a lot by not having a lot of it does have some practical effects, but there was way too much CGI bullshit in this for me. Yeah.
Twisted.
It was the sort of thing where I think I was disappointed in theaters when I saw it, and I was disappointed when I watched it this time as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, to me, I kind of got this feeling of, to me, Trick or Treat, there's like so much like love. You can feel the love for Halloween and like just like loving the holiday. Where to me, like, whenever I see this, it feels like, oh man, I got to do a Christmas movie. Like, I just don't feel the love for the holiday of Christmas in this. More so, like, it's just kind of like, man, I don't really like Christmas. I'm making this horror movie for Christmas, but like, I don't overly love the holiday.
Which is interesting because apparently he had the idea to do a Krampus movie well before, like, Trick or Treat. Apparently, like, a friend gifted him a Krampus card back in the pre-internet days is how the story goes. And he's always had kind of like this Krampus idea just like in the background to make a movie about it. And it just like he couldn't find the right script or he couldn't find the right people to bring it to life. So it's like always been in the background of his mind. And then this is what you come up with.
It's so difficult because Trick or Treat is so solid. The way that it's an anthology, it has, the rules for Halloween, and they had like one rule here, which is like to don't lose hope, believe in Christmas or whatever. And I feel like if they added more of that, and also if they added more of Christmas things, like Christmas traditions, like they did with all the Halloween rules, like check your candy, never blow out a jack-o'-lantern, and have people who actually like embrace Christmas, because everyone's just kind of like bah humbug, you know what I mean? So I really wish the
it's a
grandma,
bunch of Scrooges in this movie that you're following.
I was hoping that the grandma would like be more of a presence because she's already had a run-in with Krampus, you know what I mean? And I just feel like her character...
She's not really festive either, though.
Yeah.
Like she's kind of just like scary in
Yeah.
a way, like lingering by the fire the entire time.
She didn't learn her lesson as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, like I don't know. It is an interesting character, that grandmother, because I agree that there needed to be more like festive cheer in this movie to a certain degree. Like we can all relate to, having family members come to your Christmas dinner or crash your Christmas plans and kind of the vibe being off, or like, oftentimes you're forced to, share the table with people you genuinely don't like, but hey, we're family, so we have to do it. So I related a lot to kind of like the Toni Collette aspect, her being flustered in the kitchen and all that sort of thing, or, your relatives, talking about guns during you're having a meal. Exactly. Some of us are raising our hands, but it's the sort of thing where it's like, okay, we got this awkwardness, we got the shittiness of Christmas, being forced to be stuck in this house with one another during the holidays, but we don't really get like the Christmas cheer aspect of it, really. And that's the whole point of Krampus, where it's like, or at least that's what's, said in this movie, that it's like you can't let the cheer die out. And it's like, okay, None of these people are very cheery. Obviously, Krampus is going to come, like.
Obviously. Yeah, and I think the first part of the movie is so strong because it is really comedic. And it really does hit those notes perfectly of, having family you don't get along with. And it is really funny. I just really wish they would have kind of leaned into like the black comedy aspect more like they did with Trick or Treat. And another thing that I found with this movie is that it got so chaotic really fast and it was like really dark. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know what the fuck was happening most of the time. Like I had to go back and rewatch stuff over again just to see like who died or whatever. But in Trick or Treat, every death is like, kind of significant and they play it up more. You know what I mean? And this one is just kind of sloppy.
Yeah, I agree. I think in this one, there was lots of moments where I was similar to yourself, where I was just like, oh, okay, like we're doing this, or like, oh, they're fighting. I can't remember what this is beneath the snow. This is like a dumb Tremors fight or something. It's not really satisfying to just see like, I don't know, there's something beneath there. I don't know what it is. That I don't think really lends itself to kind of like building up the tension or really like showcasing these creatures in like an effective way. Or, I mean, even in the third act, it winds up being like all these people are just getting picked off at a moment's notice, just to ramp up to kind of like this final choice that Max has to make. We got to kill off like 4 or 5 people in quick succession. It just seems a lot sloppier than what Trick or Treat is. And I understand Trick or Treat, the way it's packed up. It's, you got 10 or 15 minute short stories all together. But there is kind of like this artistry to it where you have to have it all kind of linked together in this overarching story for Trick or Treat to work, where this, I just thought it was interesting, like how it just didn't really flow. I didn't even feel like, for example, like their daughter being taken and, Adam Scott and David Koechner going out, or Keck Burr, however you say his name, when they go over to the house and they discover like very obviously that like their daughter is likely dead. I mean, there's absolutely no signs of her alive. There's like no reaction. There's nothing.
Yeah.
They just go back and hold up in the house.
Yeah.
I was just like, you're not worried about your daughter? It was the sort of thing where it was so like non-emotional in that moment where I was like, oh, is there like a third act reveal where she's like alive or working with Krampus or something? Like there was something in my head where I was like,
the same
I thought she
thing,
had to come
actually.
back and she didn't.
Yeah, because it just makes no sense, right? It's like otherwise you would have this, there would have been some sadness at some point in this, that you lost this character, but no, there's nothing.
And they were all just sort of like, I mean, because until the like house gets totally like besieged, like they are obviously spending a lot of time like just in the house, so
sitting
it's like
around.
It's not like they didn't have time to like process it, like in some movies when someone dies, like it doesn't get dealt with because it's like this barrage of like shit happening and it just doesn't slow down. But like the pace of this, like they're just in that house like doing nothing. It's like why are you not more upset?
Well, we had 2 kids. One is gone and presumed dead now after going to her boyfriend's house. But we're not going to talk about that. It's never going to come up. And I was just wondering, I was like, well, why isn't that coming up in some capacity?
Well, Toni Collette's character shed a single tear when she was like, we got to go find her. And they decided to wait it out. That was like the only reaction.
Okay.
But yeah.
I might have missed that. I might have been jotting something down on my phone. I did have quite a few notes for this movie, but it's more so like little jokes, I guess, like little things that are said throughout the movie, like, oh, I was like, oh, there's a little anti-Semitic joke here from Aunt Dorothy here in the early part of the movie about the hams that I was like, okay, that's interesting. Or like Toni Collette like bursting into the room with like the who wants creme brulee with the face on her that like is like straight out of Hereditary. Like that I was like, oh, this is interesting.
Does it have
stuff.
nuts in it?
Yeah, that's what another mother that didn't care too much about her daughter, I guess. Or,
as soon as I saw,
I guess there is a lot of care. But
I didn't know Toni Collette was in this, but as soon as I saw her, I knew that family was fucked. Like,
oh yeah, I don't think you cast Toni Collette as a mother in a horror movie unless you want her to go complete like Gonzo, which she doesn't really go in this movie. There's obviously stuff near the end where it reminded me of Hereditary, how she was being like hanged in the attic.
Yeah,
again,
oh my god,
doing this motion, and I was just like, oh my god, it's Hereditary, 3 or 4 years early.
Part 2,
yeah, but I don't know. I like her in this, but the movie just falls apart, I think, the longer it goes on. And for me, it's pretty instant almost. Like I like the moment when I don't even know the character's name, right? But the daughter, when she's running away and you see like Krampus on the rooftops and stuff in the background.
Yeah, that was a good shot.
I was like, this is a good shot. I like this. Like, we're using him sparingly. Like, obviously it's CGI bullshit. He's jumping across and got CGI snow and probably CGI everything, which it looks kind of bad in that regard. But I like kind of the framing and the pace of it and where we're going. But then it's like pulling back on even seeing like if the kid is dead or alive near the end of that sequence, and like that I was so confused for so much of the movie on whether or not she was alive or dead. It's just like it's a weird thing that I just didn't expect the Trick or Treat, director to do, because Trick or Treat is obviously a lot of fun when you're watching it, but it's also kind of dark and bleak, and it doesn't shy away from showing the kills, and it is kind of like, oh, this is pretty brutal here for a quick second, but it's still fun. But this is just like, it's kind of like Toothless in like almost every aspect.
It seems like very restrained, which the entire time I'm watching this, I kind of felt like, oh, you can tell he's kind of playing for this like PG-14 crowd, or like he wants us to be a little more widely seen and more acceptable, I guess, for a broader age audience to watch. And yeah, I kind of agree also with, just it's kind of surprising, even when we get that last kind of like, because it's really only like the last, 20, 25 minutes, that like we really get into like the monsters and the wildness, but like you said, like how kind of just like toothless it is, which is a shame because I like a lot of the creature design. Like I think some of the designs are pretty cool, but I'm just like, you took like it to me. It was just like we took these kind of cool, like to me, I think the most successful one in this is the Jack in the Box, like giant monster thing. But I'm like,
it's like an anaconda Jack in the Box. But
but it's like you use this in the most like boring way, and you like somehow just kind of like ruin it, where this could be kind of cool.
But also, like, is Jack in the Box like related to Christmas other than just being a toy?
Not really. Well, I guess he had like some sort of, the only way they really relate. Yeah. Now that I think about it, no. Because I was I was like, he has an elf hat on, but I guess he doesn't. He has like a jester hat on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know, that for me, like I just thought like right away that's a strange choice. Like, when the daughter's beneath the truck and, the Jack in the Box gets dropped down next to her. It's like, okay, obviously it's the buildup of the song. We all know the Jack in the Box song. But right away for me, it's just kind of like, or I think they do a Christmas song in this rather than a Jack in the Box song. But whatever. It's the sort of thing where it's like, I don't really relate Jack in the Box with Christmas though. Like, other than it just being a gift. Maybe if you drew like kids gifts at Christmas, you just search it up on Google, maybe one of them would be a Jack in the Box, like next to like your toy car and your teddy bear and whatever else. But it was just the sort of thing where I don't immediately associate it with Christmas, where I was like, I don't know, like a nutcracker would have been more interesting, or at least more festive, or the elves if they were actually in the movie earlier. It was like, even for me, it's like, I understand like gingerbread men are, a more festive Christmas thing. But I even thought that was like a strange thing, like to have CGI killer gingerbread men when we've all like seen all the Shrek movies and seen CGI gingerbread men running around.
Just say it, Jill. Just say it.
Are you talking about Evil Bong, Ginger Dad Man?
Yeah, we've got Ginger Dead Man. We don't. We have Gary Busey as Ginger Dead Man.
That's a good one.
To tell you the truth, I like Krampus's design. I think all the other creatures in this movie just fucking suck. I think they're all bad.
Yeah. Krampus I think none does of them look great.
Mm-hmm.
Krampus
really
looks
like
great.
Krampus.
They put all the effort into Krampus. He's great.
It's like they were two different movies. Because I was like, I literally made a note. I was like, everything except for Krampus looks like literally Shrek. Like,
Agreed.
am I watching Shrek Part 4? Like,
this movie gave me Troll 2 vibes when I was watching it. Like the way they were all breaking in through the windows and all kind of just like standing and doing nothing, and just, that was when all the elves were coming in. But I was just like, this is supposed to be like, an actual higher budget horror movie. Well, why am I getting Troll 2 vibes, which was probably made for $20. Why is this reminding me of Troll 2?
You guys heard it. He said Troll 2 vibes, so get ready for that sleigh at the end.
It's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm kind of sad. I was like, someone's going to like that Jack in the Box design. I guess it was just me.
So what I will say is, yeah, it's a cool design. Of course, seeing, the practical effect of, swallowing a child whole, like an anaconda. It is, a good horror moment. I just don't understand why it's in a Christmas movie, really.
And like you said, I agree. To me, the issue also with it, even if you don't like the design of the angel and the mechanical robot or whatever, those gingerbread cookie men, because you can tell the rest are very practical and then those aren't, obviously.
I know why, Colton.
Yeah.
Because, sorry, I need to say it before I forget it. In Trick or Treat, that fat kid gets fucked up by the candy, right? And gets buried alive.
Mm-hmm.
This fat kid gets sucked up into the chimney and then into that worm thing. So I think there's something to say here about shitty fat kids.
All right.
So you think this is a social commentary
I think
on obese children?
No, shitty obese children, not just. And then also, they both movies talk about Charlie Brown in the beginning.
Well, I mean, iconic.
If you've watched the naughty cut, which I did, which is a very poorly named cut of this movie, it's 4 minutes longer. They drop an extra 2 F-bombs, and they add one scene where when everyone sat around doing nothing, which once again, I just don't understand why this movie has everyone sat around doing nothing for so long in the middle of it. Max comes with a box of treats, and he's like, oh, these are my leftover Halloween candy. He's like, do you guys want some? And they're like, yeah, sure. And they open up the Halloween box, and in the Halloween box, you can see Sam's, candy, jack-o'-lantern candy in there. So there you go.
I was gonna say I didn't see it, but I did read that he had the tie-in to into Halloween.
It doesn't improve the movie, but it is there.
Not. But that's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the most glaring thing that I never really realized, like I said, the 1 or 2 times I've seen this beforehand, but I did realize that, I don't know if you guys were aware, but this is really just an entire story ripoff of National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Really?
The attic.
Is it?
Really?
I thought National, it's been,
I mean, iconic, classic movie.
I have seen it, but it's been a while. I thought that was a road trip movie.
No, it's all about, it's about family coming into their house, uninvited aunts and uncles coming.
Sorry, yeah. For some reason, I remember them driving a vehicle around. I don't know. Anyways.
No, there's National Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah, guys, maybe that's what I'm thinking of. The last time I watched this movie was 20 years ago. All right, so I can't remember, but
I mean, and I feel like I'm probably not the only one to point that out. I'm sure I've heard people.
No, I literally wrote in there. I was like, obviously they're taking the beats and the characters from that because it's so recognizable that you don't even need to do the work.
Instead of this, white trash, poor, brother-in-law coming over with all their kids, they have 800 kids and they're a mess. That's replaced by a Republican brother-in-law.
Yeah.
That
but they
also
are
has
kind of
all
dressed
these
the
kids.
same and everything.
Yeah, they're very much the same. And I was like, this has those beats, the extended family member, drinking a lot, the aunt.
This is too real for me.
The Christmas tree catches on fire.
God, yeah.
Yeah, that was the other thing. I was like, I was like, this is exactly one of the funny plot lines of Christmas Vacation, which I mean,
the old grandma, literally.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, he would be of that age that would be an iconic Christmas movie to him, and it's like, hey, what if we made that movie but a horror movie? But sadly, Christmas Vacation is iconic, and I guess this is also iconic to a lot of people. There's good people on both sides, as famous men once said.
Stop.
Wonderful. What can get more festive than that? Yeah, for me, it's this movie has one good thing in it. My coworker, Adam Scott, is in there.
Stop it. He's your coworker.
I've worked with him before.
Just flex in there. Just flex
Can't confirm or deny, Maybe I've worked on his Apple TV show coming up in January, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm always excited to see him and stuff, just to be honest.
But no, I was going to say, it's not Adam Scott. It's just the Krampus design. That's the only thing, once again, that I truly enjoy from this movie.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
Yeah, I like the cast, similar to how Mike said. It's it is a good cast. I love Allison Tolman from the Fargo TV series mostly.
Fargo, yes.
She's fucking excellent in that. I was a big 2.5 Men guy back in the day.
Oh, Conchata Ferrell, R.I.P.
Yeah. She has very good comedic timing in this movie, even if she is anti-Semitic or a bit racist or whatnot. She's playing that character, and I think she is pretty. Yeah, it's pretty funny. In this movie, it very much fits a lot of us probably have one family member like that at every gathering. Yeah. So I thought she did a really good job. And, even the kids and stuff were fine, for what they were. That one fat kid that just kind of stares off all the time. I liked him. He had a dumb look on his face. And I thought all this was fun. It's just once again, for whatever reason, all the parts just don't come together. It's set up to do well. It's just for whatever reason, there's so much of the movie that just doesn't work for me. No, and I was going to say, I just can't really put my finger on it. It's just everything feels off. Maybe it's the visual effects in this scene. Maybe it's oh, there's absolutely nothing happening in this scene. Maybe it's the ending, the climax just not really making sense to me and not understanding okay, we got the diehard fall into hell here right at the end. But it's I just don't understand how we got to this point or how we got back, how it was all a dream or not a dream. It's one of those things that it's I think it thinks it's really cute and really clever, but it's also just kind of inconsequential most of the time when I'm watching it. And more boring than I expected as well.
I agree. I was reaching for my phone.
I was going to say and I know I shouldn't do it, but it's really hard not to compare this to Trick or Treat because obviously that's what I'm thinking about when I'm watching this. And it's just, to me, I was thinking about the entire runtime at Trick or Treat. There's something visually interesting or something fun, something exciting, something scary happening. Where it's with this, that's a cool shot, Krampus jumping the houses or whatever, and you get the daughter, getting killed or whatever, and then a snowman appearing, a giant snowman. But those are the two things that happen in an hour. In an hour of this movie. Because you said, most of this is this family sitting around. Obviously, they're trying to build you up to care about these characters. But at the end of the day, I'm well, this is also a horror movie. I'm only going to care about these characters so much. And in an hour of that, I don't think everything should be packed into the last 20 minutes. We don't really get any horror stuff until the last 20 minutes of this. So that's an hour and 10 minutes of nothing really happening. There's a blizzard. It's scary. There's a blizzard. And, we can't see outside, and something bit my leg. But I just feel in that amount of time.
Why is there a hole in the ground under the snow? Where the fuck are they disappearing?
Yeah, I feel something more has to happen. They could have spread these killer toys out a little more throughout the movie. I don't know. I don't think there wasn't enough character building that I cared about or that worked that I necessitated all that time.
First of all, there's way too many characters in this movie to do that, right, effectively. Yeah. And then the whole purpose of building up your characters in that fashion is so you care when they get killed off. And they fail at that too, because once again, most of these characters die just getting ripped away off screen really quick when they're all running to a snowplow or whatever near the end of the movie, right? They're not given their moments of oh, okay, that they're toast, right? And you get their, their standoff or that surprise jump scare that gets them, and you feel it because it's oh, I like that character, right? It's the only character that kind of even gets that moment really is Oni, the grandmother.
Yeah.
I guess she kind of gets a moment where it's okay, she's toast here now. But it's everybody else, it's it's just so quick or you don't care. So realistically, it's the cousins should have just been stereotypes. They all get killed quickly. They're fodder, The rest of the family, we can delve into their issues a little bit more and, have a couple killed off and have a couple survive near the end or, make it to the third act. But instead they're you know what, we're bringing 8 characters to this third act, and then they finally realize it's oh, it's a horror movie. I guess we got to kill these people off. I don't know. right? And none of them are satisfying. Like none of the kills are satisfying at all. So it's just, I don't know. It's a strange movie. I don't understand like how you make Trick or Treat and then you make this. And once again, he's a writer, so he has some say, and he's the director in like how this plot unfolds. And to have Krampus, all these minions, have all this like Christmas lore that you can mix in, and obviously kind of like the archetype from Trick or Treat, where it's like, oh, if I want to do an anthology series, like this is how I would do it, and then just not do it and throw it all out and kind of make like the most boring decision. Like, I think for me, it's mostly just like disappointment with this movie, that I just truly don't understand how this was like the best Krampus big budget option. Also, killing a kid, first kill of the movie.
Yeah.
Is this as brutal as Terrifier 3?
Except no one really died.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Well, I mean, they kind of did. I mean, I guess we can have that discussion of the ending. Like, obviously, we get this repeater ending that I'm assuming they're just reliving these 2 days over and over again.
Oh, that's not how I took it. But anyways,
no.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, then, then maybe this will be a more See, that's how I took it.
No, Max at the end shows Krampus that he does have holiday cheer, and then Krampus is like, you know what? I'm gonna toss you anyways. And then we think for a second he's dead, and then it's like, oh no, we'll just go back, and we're all fine. And when you get the little Krampus ball, it's like a reminder to everyone in the family that, okay, that actually happened. Mm-hmm. But, we were given a second chance, and now Krampus is going to keep an eye on them. His snow globe. Like, he is keeping an eye on everyone to make sure they're not naughty, was kind of the vibe I got.
That's what I got from it, too. But I think they made it kind of ambiguous with, like, it looking like a dream state sort of thing. It's
they blow out all the windows, and they make it really, like, light. So
you can take whatever
which
you want.
I think is probably just adding also to, like, the corniness of, like, kind of like the holiday cheer ending of this movie, where they make it look like a Hallmark movie pretty much.
We can't do that for Christmas.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't like the ending either. If you wanted to go with that ending, I don't even understand why you like false kill Max in the end. Because once again, like Trick or Treat would do something like this, where it's like, oh, okay, the kid, oh, you thought that was going to save your kid? Fuck you, you're dead anyways. But then it would just commit to it, right? Where this movie just doesn't commit to it. So I kind of go like, why did you go so far to make this your ending anyways? It's an interesting choice to go so far, where basically they go with it was all a dream, or like it all didn't happen, but actually it did happen. It's just like, it's a silly ending. I have no idea why they went this way.
I think they're
all choices
trying to please everyone, because it is a Christmas movie.
So you please nobody.
Yeah. So you chose the safe choice, and it was the wrong choice. Either it was a dream, they're fucked or they're not. Like,
I think the only point in this movie that I actually enjoyed somewhat was the animated backstory of Krampus.
Well, yeah, fantastic.
Did any of us also like that? That was like the one part of the movie where I was like, okay, the animation isn't great, but it does have a style to it, and I like getting like this story of like.
And it's like that nod to the classic like Christmas specials and all, the Rudolphs and all that stuff. Yeah. I like how I like totally blanked out there. I didn't even argue about the ending, because I'll be honest, I don't really care. So
oh my God.
You're fine with Krampus being Big Brother and just keeping an eye on everybody.
I mean, I just assumed because the house was trapped in the bulb that they're just trapped in the house now forever, because all the other bulbs were houses trapped.
That's his surveillance system, man.
So I was like, I thought this was like a real Men in Black situation of,
Groundhog Day.
The universe is actually on a cat's neck and all that kind of stuff.
That would be bleak.
Yeah, well, and I was like, oh, this is the bleakness of it, is they're just going to have to relive these days over and over again because they're actually dead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it could be that. That's not the way I took it. I just took it as like, he's keeping an eye on you, He has a list. He's checking it twice.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
I do really like that imagery, though, of the snow globe, and that's like on the movie poster and everything. I think that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, I wish that like aesthetic energy was like in the movie more. Like, once again, like, I think like a lot of the artwork done by this, by fans or by like the marketing of this movie, it looks good as well. It's just like, once again, I think it's just the over CGI visual effects makes it all look like shit. It's like, I don't believe the snowman's in the front yard. I don't believe the lights on the house. I don't believe the snow anywhere. I don't believe anything about this movie. I have, I'm like Max. I've lost my festive cheer when I'm watching this movie. I'm upset.
Krampus is coming for you.
I know, Krampus, and I mean, at least I could admire his design, I guess, if he shows up. I don't know. That's the only, once again, I'm a broken record, but it's the only thing that's cool about it.
So, did we have anything else we wanted to say about this, or are we comfortable landing the sleigh on this one?
Let's land the sleigh.
So if you're new to the podcast, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or sleigh. Mike, we'll start with you first. What would you give 2015's Krampus?
Okay, well, I went into it thinking one thing and left thinking another. I was really hoping that I was going to love it because of the pedigree. The director and the cast, like Tony Collette. And I thought, like, oh, Krampus, that could be interesting. Like, if you're going to have to do a Christmas movie, like, it's got potential. And I really liked the vibe that it was going for. And there were elements of it that really appealed to me. Like, I did like that cute little flashback. And I mean, I'm calling it cute, even though it was like horrific. But,
yeah,
I thought it was an interesting tactic. But it went on like way too long.
Which is crazy. It's only 98 minutes, by the way.
Yeah. I know. And that's the thing. It was really funny because I was kind of like trying to like plot my things that I had to do during the day. And I was like, oh my God, this is going to be easy to fit in because it's like relatively short. And then at some point I was like, okay, I'm going to get up and make a cup of coffee. And it was like when they were leaving the house finally, getting chased out, and I was like, oh, there's gotta be like 5 minutes left, and I like paused it and looked at the screen, and I was like, there's like 25 goddamn minutes left to this movie. Like, I thought it was like over like 5 minutes, and I just like literally just sat down with my coffee and was like, I can't do this for another 25 minutes. And then it turns out that I didn't know how bad it was gonna get. Because I did not like the ending at all. I liked like the first half hour, and that was about it. Pretty much after, was Beth is her name, died, I was like, it kind of all went downhill from there for the reasons that we've spoken about.
Yeah.
Didn't really give a shit about any of the characters. They just weren't doing anything. There was no consequences to the kills, whether they, were real or not. And I just, I'm going to give it an okay. Like, if somebody wants me to watch it over Christmas, I won't say no, but like I'll probably be on my phone the whole time, to be honest. Mm-hmm. What about you, Colton? I feel like we're kind of in the same similar boat, maybe.
Yeah, the thing is that I don't know. This is one of the few movies when I watched it, I never jot down like, did I give it an okay or an A, or it wasn't even in the realm for a yay or a slay. But it was the sort of thing where it's like I just don't know where I stand on it. As I've discussed it, all I have is to say negative things about the movie, other than Krampus's design, where it's like, oh, can one good design make a movie an okay? I don't know. I think I'm going to settle on an A. I think it's just too disappointing for me. And like, once again, similar to Mike, I don't like any of the characters. I think the third act sucks. I think the way it's structured is bad. It's boring. The visual effects kill me, and all the creature design and just like everything looking so fake and cheap and gross. Yeah, other than Krampus. And what's crazy is the digital effects in this. The visual effects are by Weta Workshop, which, we've seen them with Lord of the Rings, or we've seen them with like the Planet of the Apes movies. Like, they do good work. Maybe the money and the time wasn't there in this one, because it's certainly not good what I'm seeing here. But yeah, it's a nay from me. It's not like a nay with prejudice. I don't hate this movie. It's just when I rewatched this, I was like, oh, there's the reason why I've only ever seen it one time. I was not at all surprised, like, by the time I got like halfway through. Similar to Mike, I was giving it like the benefit of a doubt for probably the first half hour or so, even though it was still quite rough. But I was, laughing along with the jokes, being like, okay, I get what it's going for. But yeah, it was like, once the girl's dead, once we're not doing anything about it, once we're not moving from this house, yeah, I was pretty out. What about you, Jill?
Yeah, I'm going to give Krampus an okay. I really wanted to like it. I think I went in with very high expectations, and I was enjoying the beginning bit of it when it was just like kind of funny, but I really think it just needs to be tightened up, and I would love to see them come back and kind of redo this and make it iconic, like Trick or Treat, because we deserve a really good Krampus movie. And if there is a Krampus movie that's good out there that exists, please let me know, because I would love to see it. So yeah, it's a shame, but I did enjoy it for the premise, and it was okay. But like you guys said, it felt really long, and I was looking at my phone, and then I was confused because I didn't know who died, and then I had to go back and rewatch it, and it was just like everyone like died off so quickly, and I could barely see anything because it was like so dark out in the snow, and I just really want it better. So yeah, it's an okay. What about you, Rowan?
Yeah, I mean, this might encourage me and Jill to be like bringing the original Screams concept back and deep dive in. I'm like, I wonder if some of these Tubi Krampus movies are at least like a little more fun, even if they're like terrible, FX stuff. Like I was like, maybe they're fun. Maybe that's the direction we need to go with Krampus. Like, just like, sleazy, low budget, just fun stuff. I mean, I feel like we all kind of have the same sentiments about this movie. Like, I mean, it should say something that this isn't one that I'd be picking up every Christmas to watch. I mean, I respect it on the fact that I think this is maybe underrated as a kind of like intro to horror movie. Like I could see, because to me, this is no more scary than, like a Blumhouse introduction to something. Like, there's really not, like, the violence is pretty tame in this. Like we kind of complained about, like, people are just, like the daughter dies, but she just pulled under a truck. You don't see anything really. So I can kind of respect it on that. But I guess, yeah, from, when you're going into this, especially when it came out, from the high of Trick or Treat and how good Trick or Treat is, and this like cult following of it and the love of this movie, I just, the only thing I can think of is, because I know a lot of people hold this movie kind of up there, and I think it's just maybe the lack of higher budget Christmas horror movies is so lacking in the horror community. We're just trying to hold on to this and have it represent, because obviously, like, a lot of the iconic stuff, like the original Black Christmas and Silent Night, Deadly Night, like, this is all stuff that was like fairly low budget, and like,
yeah, but to be fair, you've named two iconic Christmas horror movies over like 100 years of cinema, right? So I agree. There's not a whole lot to hold on to.
Yeah.
And we struggle with it every year, trying to find like a decent, holiday horror pick.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, like a real high mark in Christmas horror is Magic, but you can't get there every year. So yeah, I think I'm going to land on like a very light okay. I do, once the mayhem starts, I like some of the creature design. I love seeing Krampus. But I mean, it was even hard for me watching this, being like, can I even get this to an okay? Just because I thought the first hour was like such a waste of time, and just even easy character development wasn't done. So I'm going to give it an okay. So 3 okays and an A. I mean, I think it's fair. I'll be interested to see what other people think.
Before we move to that, Jill mentioned if there was any other good Krampus movies. And after watching this movie, I think I did kind of like a little bit of like a Krampus deep dive. I remember watching like A Christmas Story, I think it was called, or it might be A Nightmare Christmas Story. Anyways, it has a terrible title. I think it has like Santa fighting Krampus on the front.
And I think people love it.
I didn't like that one, but it is an anthology, if I remember correctly. But kind of in a similar vein to this, but also kind of like if you mix it with Dial Code Santa Claus from last year, or Deadly Games, whatever you want to call it. There's a movie called Rare Exports, A Christmas Tale, which is a Finnish movie, and it stars a little boy who's kind of like a little action hero boy, similar to the one from last year. And Krampus is in that movie. I think there's a lot of Krampuses in that movie.
I know a lot of people love Rare Exports. I know that's like a big...
It's good, if I remember correctly. Is it amazing? Masterpiece? No, probably not. But it was something when I was like trying to figure out something this year, like that we could review. Rare Exports was on my list, and Krampus is in it. It's much better than this movie, in my opinion. So there's one to check out.
So yeah, like I said, 3 okays and an A. So we gave you our thoughts on this film. We asked you what your opinions were, and we did get some answers. So let me crack open the phone here because obviously I wasn't prepared. So we had Horror Hound extraordinaire Holly P write in, and she said, a yearly staple for me. The opening shopping scene is too funny.
I do love that scene.
It is very good. I did love that scene. Yeah.
Thanksgiving stole it.
That's what
I was going to say. Because I watched Thanksgiving, like last month, I was like, holy shit. Like it's almost exactly the same. Except Thanksgiving's is way more brutal.
That's what it should have been for this movie.
The vibe of Thanksgiving was literally, they nailed what this one should have been.
Yeah.
For sure.
100%. Then over on Bluesky, Steve Dunn wrote us and said, been a while since I watched it, but it was an okay back then. Probably need a rewatch. So, I mean, you can rewatch it. It seems like the first time you saw it, you're pretty much on par with us that it was okay. And then with that, I guess we can go over to the horror hotline. Before we get into the voicemail, we did have some people write in. So we have a question and then kind of someone that wrote in multiple questions. We'll start with the multiple questions one because I think they're just confused, really. And I have no idea how to say their handle. Maybe Fooch Sia Dyke. Yeah, I probably murdered that. And then
wouldn't it be fuchsia?
Is it fuchsia? Well, it's spelled weird. It's spelled all weird.
How is it spelled?
Maybe. It's spelled weird, I'm pretty sure.
Is it Fuchsia?
It totally is, yeah.
Yeah, it's fuchsia, bro.
Oh, geez.
That's a color.
No, man, that's bad. I won't cut that out, even though
no, you're keeping that in. You gotta keep that in.
Yeah. So wheezing. So they wrote, this had me wheezing. I really enjoyed it. They wrote it.
Jill's dead. You killed Jill.
So they wrote, who are you and how did you get in my Instagram feed? What day is it? And where am I? And I can't really tell you. We invade feeds. I did see we have friends in common, though. I'm assuming I saw your two friends in common with us are Willow and Trevor. So we probably invaded you through Willow.
Yeah, maybe through the yearly polls that we do. We usually get some people in that way. And
I'll be honest, the four of us, we also usually ask that question about It's SLEIGH's podcast. We're like, how did this get on our feeds? Where are we? Who are we? What am I doing here? So we understand that. And then we had friend of the podcast, Cecily, write in, and she said, do you also want Krampus to overthrow capitalist Santa? And have you ever followed any Krampus, well, it cut her off. It just said trad.
Traditions.
But yeah, she meant traditions. I mean, my Christmas usually isn't very like capitalist holiday. I'm not really big present people, unless you're giving me the presents, I guess. Then I'm okay with it.
So you're cheap.
I joke. It's kind of the opposite. I'm one of those people that I love buying gifts. I love giving gifts rather than receiving them, because I'm always of the mind that I always tell people when they ask me when they get me, I'm like, well, if I want something, I'm just gonna buy it when I want it throughout the year. I enjoy getting stuff for people. But yeah, overthrow capitalism. I think there's a little bit of that going on in the States. Am I right, guys? CEOs just dying off here.
Luigi Mangione.
Wow. What a gift to us all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just like Krampus where he lives, or where he exists in culture. I think I'm fine with. You discover Krampus. I'd say most people now, when they're like in their late teens or something, you'll learn. I don't know if I want to see Krampus everywhere. You go to Dollarama and you got all these Krampus Christmas items and shit. I don't know if I need that really. And I mean, I'm fine with Santa where he exists too. That's that's a good 5 to 8 years of believing, getting lied to by your parents. That's great stuff.
True.
And
what are I don't know Krampus traditions.
You gotta watch The Office.
Real quick.
Oh, there was an episode about that, wasn't there?
Great episode with Dwight.
It's like Dwight's Christmas. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
I love Krampus. And I love anything. I love Christmas and I love dark stuff. So yeah, Krampus, hell yeah. I actually was looking at my friend's Christmas tree yesterday, and she had like a little handmade ornament where it was Krampus carrying in his sack like two people, and it was like her and her husband's name, and I thought that was really cute.
Yeah, I agree. I like that sort of thing.
Not into...
I think it would just be interesting if the whole holiday was instead of like Santa, it was Krampus. God. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know if I'd like that. I think I'm kind of fine where it exists. But yeah, all I got for Krampus, I searched up Krampus traditions, and it's just like Krampus beats those who are naughty with branches and sticks. So I don't know. Maybe if you're into that, you're into it. I don't know.
Yeah, is Cecily trying to tell us something, or...
You leave Cecily alone.
But with that, why don't we go over? We have a voicemail. Nicholas making it in the nick of time.
Oh, Saint Nick.
Yeah.
Wait, is Saint Nicholas?
Oh, let's see what he has to say.
I've just watched Krampus, the 2015 movie by the director of Trick or Treat. I hope this is correct because Colton mentioned like 15 different Krampus movies. And first things first, I think Trick or Treat is the better movie and the better thematic holiday movie
100%.
In comparison to Krampus. But I still enjoy Krampus a lot. I think it is a very entertaining movie. It has a few decent scary moments. I do like the main antagonist, the Krampus creature. I like the idea of it having a, Santa Claus mask, and you can see something behind the mask, but never really a complete reveal of what the creature looks like. And I like some of the ideas with the house being besieged by both the creatures and a snowstorm. And I also thought that some of the death or disappearances were a bit shocking, not in the violent way. The movie's not really violent, but in the order. I didn't expect the daughter, for example, to be the first one who gets taken by the creatures. However, I do have to say, I think the movie never quite succeeds as either a scary horror movie, because it is missing the strong scares or some strong violence, nor as a comedy or a satire on Christmas and this family coming together. There are some nice jokes, and there are also 2 or 3 very nice character moments, but it's not not enough to give the movie the masterclass I'd give Trick or Treat. So overall, I'm on a medium yay. It's not bad, but it's also not really great. I can see myself watching it again in a few years during Christmas time, but it's not something that I'll rewatch every Christmas from now on. So that are my thoughts on the movie. But it was nice rewatching it after almost 10 years. And I see myself watching it in 10 years for a third time.
Pretty on point.
Yeah, he liked it a little bit more than any of us, but I mean, I think the general sentiment of this movie is most people seem to like it. So this might be the one time where we're all a little bit of a hater like me. I don't know. I guess we didn't actually describe what Krampus looked like, so at least Nicholas said what Krampus looked like rather than just he's cool, like I said. I
was waiting for Jill to make some sort of off comment about, boy, that tongue.
I was thinking it, but there was a lot of tongue kind of moments here. There's one where Toni Collette's character had it kind of going into her ear from a creature, I recall.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want a tongue shoved in my ear, but...
A wet willy.
Depends on where the tongue is coming from.
Oh.
And with that, if you want to leave a message on the Horrific Hotline, you can do so by sending it to itslayspodcast@gmail.com or sending your voicemail or voice message on any of our socials at itslayspodcast. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Slasher, Letterboxd, Threads, Bluesky, TikTok. Apparently, we're there. If you want to follow us, we're there at It Slays Podcast. And if you want to help support the show financially, like our horror hounds, Holly, Nicholas, Patrick, Mark, Steven, Joy, Dan, Brian, Trevor, and James, gain access to the Patreon exclusive show, Stream Screams, hosted by Jill, and get episodes of this here main show 48 hours early. Be sure to head on over to patreon.com/itslayspodcast and choose whatever tier works best for you. Rowan, music? The music in this movie is nothing really memorable, right? I'm not missing something.
No, I mean, I thought they did some all right things with it, but nothing like crazy. This isn't, the Trick or Treat soundtrack, like kind of iconic.
Bangers, one might say.
Yeah, bangers. This one, no bangers. So I don't know if it's going to make it. But go to the It Slays podcast, horrific playlist on Spotify. If you have any problems finding it, you can go to any of the social media that Colton just mentioned. Go into the bio, click the Linktree link. It'll take you directly there. We upload scores or licensed music from iconic horror movies we review, or horror movies we just love. So follow the playlist. We update it regularly, and get your spooky music on even during the holidays, because why the hell not? And last but not least, we have to announce our next pick, which we didn't really dwell on it this episode, that this is the last episode of the year of the main show. But we don't dwell on it because we're coming back. We don't have anything better to do with our lives. Like, we're here for eternity. Maybe we're here like my thought of the ending of Krampus, where it's just a repeat over and over for the rest of our lives, just doing It Slays podcast.
And
it's Colton's pick, and I'm so interested because I don't think any of us know where he's going with this.
No, I had a pick in mind for the first of the year for like a while. The issue is I just don't want to pick it now because we just did a movie with like creature practical effects, and I just feel like it'd be too similar. So I think I'm going to pivot. I originally, and this might upset some of our listeners, I originally was going to do Pan's Labyrinth, which would be great.
Okay.
If
I can see that though, kind of. Yeah,
but it's just like the fawn is now going to be too similar to Krampus. There's this magical, mystical element of the child protagonist and stuff. I was just like, it's not the right time anymore to do Pan's Labyrinth since we chose Krampus. So I'm going to go the complete opposite end. So I was looking at my list. We haven't done a found footage mockumentary thing in a while. Since The Medium, I think, was the last one, which was almost a year ago now.
I love that movie.
So I'm going to choose one that a lot of our listeners are probably familiar with, but I don't think any of you guys actually have it logged. And that's Lake Mungo, which, I think it's from 2008. I think it's the director's only movie that they ever made. And, we'll see what y'all think about it in the new year.
It's not a movie, unless I don't know that, like, Mungo doesn't have any giant alligators or crocodiles or anything else in it.
I don't want to spoil it, but there is someone who goes missing in a lake. Is it due to a crocodile? Who knows?
Hopefully it's due to a crocodile and an alligator and a 3-headed shark. I'm open to all those things. But yeah, so get Lake Mungo into your eye holes, and we'll be back in the new year. And I'm sure you will hear lots more before the new year. We have a Now Slaying coming out. I feel like we're going to have 2 Now Slayings.
Maybe 2 Now Slayings, yeah.
Coming out.
One covering all the things we missed, essentially, when I was away and Rowan was slacking.
Yeah.
And then kind of like a Now Slaying, looking at the year ahead of what horror releases can we be excited about in the new year.
And maybe 3, because we'll also have to talk about Nosferatu, obviously.
Oh my God, we're talking about Nosferatu, whether or not I just record it myself on Christmas Day, and that's my gift to myself and everybody else.
That, by the way.
Yeah, we're doing Nosferatu, absolutely.
And then you guys, maybe, I don't know, probably not before you hear this, but before the new year, you will hear the new Patreon exclusive Stream Screams with Jill and Mike. I'm working on that right now. So they will be talking about some good stuff that you'll want to hear. So get ready for that announcement. And then generally, I guess, because this is the end of the year, just thank you for all the support. I never throw out numbers, but I will say, I was saying to Colton the other day, this year we have basically doubled all of our views, all of our downloads. Our YouTube did really good this year. I think, for a YouTube that I think we kind of sat at like under 100 subscribers forever. We're steady on our way to almost 500 now. And, the show just has gotten bigger. It's just gotten bigger. And, thank you, so much for putting up with us. So, we will be back in the new year as long as Krampus doesn't throw us in a death pit. Thank you as always. I am your humble host, Rowan.
Have a good holiday. It's Mike.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Thanks for listening. I'm Colton.
Merry Chrysler.
See you later.